everyone and welcome to today's session. I am Dr. Sonam Badhoria, Assistant Professor at the School of Management Studies, Swami Rama Himalayan University. In today's lecture, we will explore a cornerstone institution in the Indian securities market, the National Securities Depository Limited, or popularly known as NSDL. National Securities Depository Limited has been a revolutionary force transforming how securities are held and transferred in India, introducing electronic or dematerialized securities and making the entire process safer, faster and much more efficient than before. Let's move on to the first section, which is understanding the need for National Securities and Depository Limited. Before NSDL came into existence, securities in India were held in physical paper certificates. This created several problems, like first one is the risk of theft, loss or damage. Physical certificates were prone to being lost, stolen or destroyed. Second is the forgery and fraud. Paper certificates were suspected to forgery. Next is settlement delays. Transfer of ownership required physical delivery and a lot of paperwork, which causing delays and non-timely delivery of the documents. Next is high transaction cost, as the process was manual and labor intensive, so the cost was high. Next is the lack of transparency. Tracking securities ownership was difficult at that time. Next is lack of transparency. Tracking securities ownership was difficult at that time. So, to address these problems, the Government of India, along with the Securities and Exchange Board of India, which is SEBI, decided to set an institution which will be able to control this type of problems, and they introduced a system of dematerialization, converting physical securities into electronic form and a centralized depository to hold these transactions and these electronic securities. The National Securities and Depository Limited (NSDL) came into existence at that time. It was established in 1996, becoming India's first and largest depository institution. Let's move on to the next section of the lecture, which is covering the formation and ownership of National Securities and Depository Limited. NSDL was promoted jointly by the central government of the India, the Unit Trust of India, which is popularly known as UTI, the National Stock Exchange of India, that is NSE, and several leading financial institutions. Like it was incorporated as a public limited company under the Companies Act 1996. NSDL is regulated by Securities Exchange Board of India under the Depository Act 1996. Its governance structure consists of a board of directors representing various stakeholders, including institutional investors, stock exchanges, and the regulatory bodies. Let's move on the next section, which is the core functions and services of NSDL. The primary functions of NSDL include dematerialization. Dematerialization is basically the converting physical share certificates into electronic form, making them easier to trade and transfer and as well as management. Next is rematerialization, the reverse process, which means converting electronic securities back into the paper securities, or we can say the physical securities if needed. Next function is settlement of trades. National Securities and Depository Limited acts as an intermediary to transfer securities between the buyer and the seller accounts during trading on stock exchanges. Next function is pledging and hypothecation. Facilitates pledging of securities as collateral for loans. And next is corporate actions processing. NSDL manages activities like dividend distribution, bonus issues, right issues, annual general meeting notifications, and electronical payments also. Next function is account maintenance. Maintains demat accounts of the customers as well of the investors. They are mostly like bank account of securities. And the next important function of NSDL is investor services. It provides online access to portfolio holdings, transaction settlements, and dispute redressal also. So let's move on the next section, where we are going to learn about the dematerialization process and technology which is adopted by NSDL. The dematerialization process involves, first is the investor who submits physical certificates to the depository. Participant, which is known as the DP. The DP acts like a broker or the bank branch. Second is the DP forwards the certificate to NSDL through the register and transfer agent, which is known as the RTA. After verification, National Securities and Depository Limited credits the investor's demat account with the electronic securities. The entire process typically takes 15 days or even less many times. NSDL's technology platform is built on the following technologies. First is robust IT infrastructure to ensure security as well as the speed in handling and transferring the securities. Use of encrypted messaging standards such as ISIN, which is International Securities Identification Number, to uniquely identify the securities. Next is the integration of stock exchanges. RTAs, banks and clearing corporations are integrating all the qualities of their functions for the better transactions of the securities. Next is real-time updating of holdings to ensure accuracy. NSDL has continually upgraded its system to incorporate blockchain pilots, cloud computing and artificial intelligence to improve efficiency and the security also. Let's move to the next section, which is basically explaining the risk management and security framework of NSDL. So, given the critical nature of securities ownership data, NSDL implements a stringent risk management system and measures also. Physically and cyber security. So, the NSDL employs multi-layered firewalls, intrusion detection systems and biometric access control to safeguard the data. Disaster recovery and business continuity. Backup data centers and recovery protocols ensure zero data loss even during the emergencies also. So, if we talk about the legal framework of NSDL, NSDL operates under the Depository Act and work closely with SEBI to enforce compliance and investors' protection. Operational controls. Transactions go through the multiple validation stages during the NSDL processing, it including participant and investor confirmation at various stages. Second is the investor protection. If we talk about the investor protection, NSDL provides grievance redressal mechanism and settlement also. It educates its investors to reduce risk associated with the frauds or errors. If we talk about the next section of the lecture, it is about what is the impact of NSDL on Indian securities market. So, NSDL revolutionized the Indian capital market. So, let's discuss how it does it. It dramatically reduced the risk and cost associated with the physical certificates. It typically reduced the time also because the turnaround times for settlement decreased from weeks to days or sometimes in hours also. It increased the transparency and accountability. How? Let's see. Supported the growth of retail and institutional investment. It also enabled the introduction of new financial products such as ETFs and mutual funds. It enhanced corporate governance practices by simplifying corporate actions and improving shareholder communication also. So, according to the recent reports and researches, NSDL holds over 3 crore investors' accounts and manages securities worth several lakh crores of Indian rupees, which actually showcasing its massive scale functioning. So, let's move on to the next section, which is basically covering the recent innovations and the future roadmap of NSDL. So, let's talk about this. NSDL continues to innovate integration with the Unified Payment Interface, which is popularly known as UPI, for seamless payment settlements. It also pilots using blockchains technology to create tamper-proof ownership records. It also working in the expansion for the mutual funds dematerialization with the platform, or we can say with the same platforms like mutual fund services system. Use of artificial intelligence with the change of technology and the changing time. NSDL is also working on how the artificial and the machine learning can be helpful for fraud detection. It is planning to enable cross-border depository services to facilitate foreign investment flows, which will definitely increase the number of foreign institutional investors in the country. It is promoting green initiatives by reducing paper usage through digitization of the transactions. These innovations position NSDL as a forward-looking institution, adapting to the future of financial markets or the financial system of India. Let's move on to the next section of the lecture, which is basically the summary and the key takeaways from the today's session. So, we talk about the NSDL today. So, by summarizing this session, we can talk about like NSDL was established in 1996 to facilitate electronic holding and transfer of securities. It replaced physical certificates and making the securities trading faster, safer and cheaper also. Its core function include dematerialization settlement, which is we have discussed about it. It includes corporate actions and investor services. It includes advanced technology systems like artificial intelligence, blockchain technology to control the risk management and to safeguard the investors' interest also. It has transformed the Indian financial system, or we can say the Indian securities market, and continues to innovate for the future also. Thank you for joining me today. I hope this lecture gave you a detailed understanding of the National Securities Depository Limited, or we can say the NSDL, and its pivotal role in India's financial markets. In our next session, we will explore Securities Trading Corporation of India Limited, another key institution supporting India's securities ecosystem. Until then, keep learning and stay curious about the world of finance. Namaste.